opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave, from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. And today is July the 3rd, 2017. It is the 7th month of the year. So we're on the downside of the year. 2017 is halfway done. So as they continue to fly by, man, going by really quickly. So just want to thank you all for listening to Thando Radio Show, and want to say thank you for who you are and what you do. And I think it's very, very important that we continue to support Black Talk Radio Network by going to www.blacktalkradionetwork.com, www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. And then once you go there, there is on the far right-hand margin of the home page, that's the home page for this network, you'll see the donation prompt that's there. Just hit that and follow it and just give some of your financial energy so this network can continue to grow and do what it's doing and bring you what it's been bringing you and so much more. Also, there's another way that you can support Black Talk Radio Network by being a part of its one second, sorry about that. So you could be part of its social media network known as BTR Community. And BTR Community is something that is brought to you by, in a more holistic way, by Black Talk Radio Network. So you can engage in all of your social media activities without being adversely affected by having your identity sold to any bidder, or having your overall activities data mined and put into a spider for future information and whatever else is going to be done with it, so you don't have to worry about that. So go to BTR Community. It is only $24 a year. Hey, my man Chico-Stick is in queue, so as soon as we get going with the show, my man Chico-Stick is here. Looking forward to today's show. What up, Chico-Stick? So we're going moving on. Hey, Dave, how you doing? Dave, what's up, brother? How you feeling? We're just gonna just get some of the preliminary administrative stuff out, Chico-Stick, then we'll jump right into today's show. Looking forward to it with you, brother. Thank you for being on and just being my man, the homie. Yes. Chico-Stick is in the building. So we're gonna have a good show for you guys today. So definitely, but listen, BTR Community, definitely go to BTR Community. That is a way that you can engage in your social media activity without you being adversely affected. And it is a way for us to always be in contact, especially for what's going to be going on. Very, very important, because, you know, whenever you're in FedBook, they definitely everything you do is pretty much monitored, pretty much anything, but this is a more holistic way of doing that. Okay. Also, if you would like to acquire real money, you could do that and that's not cash. If you like to save in real money, you could do that with Prosperity Mint, PROSPERITYMINT. Just go there, check out what's in inventory, and then email info@prosperitymint.com. Someone will get to you. And ProsperityMint.com is happy to announce that it is accepting the cryptocurrencies. You can also purchase your real money by using some of the cryptocurrencies. And the cryptocurrencies that are accepted, I believe, is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Just those, because those are some of the main ones, have more stability. So if you would like to do that, you could also pay by way of the cryptocurrency. So definitely a lot of things, and there's some other things that's going to be brought to you by Prosperity Mint. It's going to be up there, so check it out. And you may not get paid the wage of a king or a queen or the wage of a lady and a gentleman, but you definitely can save in that, and that is in real money. That is what the great creator has deemed as necessary and relevant, that having intrinsic value. So make sure you're saving the way and protecting your overall labor and your energy correctly, okay? So also, everyone, please go to the GoFundMe campaign that's going on for my man, Michael Emmanuel. Michael is just finished chemotherapy last month, a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, and you could go to the GoFundMe campaign to assist him and family with getting him some of the nutritional needs so that he can recover fully from the chemo, and so that the body can rebalance itself so that it will not have to deal with the overall cancer again. And the GoFundMe is GoFundMe.com/Sam Union Yankee 5P/3500. Definitely check it out. Go there, give, and so that this young man can give back to us all. Give away a fortune so this young man can give one as well. So definitely assist in that. Greatly appreciate all of you that are engaging in that. And so looking forward to Michael's full and speedy and complete recovery. Okay. Also, if you would like to trade in the cryptocurrencies with us, you can do that by going to ourcryptocurrencies.com, and you'll see the DREN 86 is there. You know that that's me for Trade Coin Club. Sign up there and start trading. And then through Trade Coin Club, once you do that, I'll send you the information to set up your account, and then make sure, then reach out to me, and you could do that by actually emailing me, or you can actually text me at 951-790-8330. But I'll see you there, and if there's anything, and then I'll email you, and you can respond to the email to set you all up. There's a couple of things that you need to do. Doing very, very well there in the cryptocurrencies. So looking forward to doing even more. We'd love for you all to be a part of it. So important in today's world. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to jump into what's in the news. Then we're going to jump into the show with my man Chico-Stick, who's already there. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that participated in the Controlling Your Wealth seminar this weekend. And we will actually continue do it. Excuse me, not continue, but we're going to do it again for those of you that missed, because some people missed flights and everything else. It was a busy travel time. So totally forgot about it. It was that, this weekend was the 4th of July weekend, and it was also a lot of stuff that was happening here in Dallas. So a lot of hotels and everything was booked up because they had something called Mega Fest. So it was a lot that was going on. But overall, it was a good ordeal. It was a little challenging in the beginning. Let me just tell you, because we had it at the library. It was a beautiful, beautiful spot. But we were told that we could start at 10 o'clock. So me, I get there real early. But the library doesn't open until 10. And so it pushed us back a little bit, and we got in, and then the projector in the room that were in didn't work, so we had to switch over. So it was a little delayed, and because of that, kind of pushed us back. So, but we will be giving the whole presentation Again, if you missed it, don't worry about it. You can definitely do it. And how we're going to do it now is that you just can email info@prosperitymint.com, info@prosperitymint.com. There was a couple of people that emailed me on Saturday, but because of everything that was going on, wasn't able to respond, and we missed your opportunity to get you in to the overall class. Very, very good class. We worked out the bug, so it's only going to get better from there. And so now we know how to do it, and it's going to be. And we're going to be doing. We're not going to have people travel to Dallas anymore for the Control Your Wealth seminar, only because I'm not going to be traveling. So I definitely don't want people traveling. And there's a reason why I'm not going to be traveling up until the end of this year. It's just that this summer is a lot going on. I don't want to be caught anywhere, and I don't want you all to be caught here in Dallas, away from your family and away from, your means and things, So what we're going to be doing we're going to be doing it online, and we're pretty much every Saturday, or not, I can't say every Saturday, but pretty much I'll let you know all the Saturdays that we will be doing it. We will be doing it this Saturday as well. So if you missed it, don't worry about it. You could definitely jump in, and you don't have to come to Dallas because I'm not going to be traveling, and I'm not going to ask anyone else to travel as well. So it was really, really good. Other than that, little bugs, fixed them out, good to go. So definitely something that you want to engage in. All right, so let's jump into what's in the news. Then we get to my man Chico-Stick. And this is, I don't know why, but I may have to change. I think I am. I have to change platforms because my what's in the news stuff is not coming up here. It's not showing anything, so I can't even tell you what's in the news. So put a lot of good stuff there. So let me change positions, and then I will be able to give you what's in the news. So, but today's show, just so you know, we have a special guest who you all already know. And, I love Chico-Stick, because as soon as I put up that Chico-Stick was coming on, a bunch of people said, hey, man, cool, Chico-Stick going to be on. So Chico-Stick is really, really popular because, let me tell you, just what you hear in Chico-Stick on the air and the times that he's been here, knowing him personally is far, far, much, much, much more. This is a down-to-earth, great, great person, brother, and friend of mine that, I trust with everything. So we're going to be having a show with Chico-Stick. Just give me a second, everyone, because we're going to jump into what's in the news. I got to get situated here because the last place I couldn't read, but I may not be able to do this.
Hey, Dave, what issue you having, man, with BTR?
Oh, no. It's not BTR. It's not BTR. It's actually me. Because where we are, our internet is horrible. And so sometimes what happens, Scotty, is that I won't be able to see everything that's on the board. So, but I'm at another spot, so I just put it on something where I will be able to see it. So We're good to go. I'm going to have it real quickly, and we'll get jumping into what's in the news. And if not, I can just pull them up in another way. So today's show, special guest Chico-Stick, the Entangled Web in current and future events. That's going to be today's show. So there we go. Working good now. All right, so if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit star to unmute yourself. I'm not able to see the board, so just unmute yourself and say, excuse me, we'll hear you, and then we will definitely bring you up. I will be able to see the board in a minute, but I need to catch up with the show. So here we go. First article, I posted this one from South China Morning Post. PLA, warship jets warn off U.S. destroyer in the South Sea of China, and that's the Chinese Navy. Beijing sent a warship and fighter jets to warn off a U.S. Navy destroyer that sailed close to a disputed island in the South Sea of China, calling the passage a serious provocation that strains relationships. So check out that article. Next article, this one comes from Russia Insider. White House afraid there could be leaks about planned, excuse me, God, man, sorry about that. So, excuse me. All right, so that's what's in there. So Russia Today, they're basically saying that they know that the U.S. is trying to start another incident in Syria, and they know that they are aware that Russia knows about it and is probably going to be bringing things to light. So it's caused for a bad situation, and you'll see what I mean by that because it's actually already come out. Next article. This was from Press TV. This Press TV is an Iranian publication. Saudi. Qatar's deadline extended by 48 hours. Saudi Arabia said it has decided, along with its allies, to extend a deadline for Qatar to accept a list of demands by 48 hours. Sounds like Qatar didn't want to do it, so they said give them more time. So that whole situation is very, very strategical, and as what we'll talk with Chico-Stick today, all of these things play together because there's a lot that's going on. Next article from Russia Insider again, and it says, it begins. Islamic rebels accuse Syrian army of chlorine attack. An Islamic rebel group has accused the Syrian army of using chlorine against its fighters on Saturday, according to Reuters. Since the allegations, the chlorine holocaust involved Islamic rebels and small children. So check out that article. That was what Russia said was going to be happening. They knew that they were going to they said the U.S. is going to try to use this as a pretext to expand the overall in Syria, which is much more than what people think. All right, next article. This one also comes from the South China Morning Post. And this article says, I had to pull this up because it didn't show earlier. Trump calls Jinping as tensions escalate over Taiwan and North Korea. So, and what happened, they say that this is just what they say. When celebrity figurehead Trump called the celebrity figurehead president of China, he called to talk about North Korea, and he got some warnings about Taiwan and North Korea by the president of China, so it says. So President Jinping urged his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump to abide by Washington's decade-old one China policy during a phone call on this morning, as tensions between the two countries resurfaced over Taiwan's dispute in the South Sea of China and how to handle North Korea's nuclear program. So check out that article that's there. Next article. We got this one from Russia Insider again. U.S.-Russia sanctions bill set up a German-American clash. The Russian sanctions bill that passed the U.S. Senate by 98-2 on June the 15th is a bombshell. It directly moves this down. It directly demonetizes the Nord Stream 2 pipelines under the Baltic Sea, which is bound to double Gazprom's energy capability to supply gas to Europe. And this is, in my effect, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you lose NATO. This is definitely how you lose NATO, because Germany is quite upset that the U.S. is involving in sanctions against Russia, because they can't afford for Russia to be going through any sanctions, especially as, you know, as this is only going to ramp up, and then but winter will be coming, and winter is long and strong in these countries. So check that article out. Next article from Reuters. Trump says he will speak with German and French officials on Monday. Celebrity figurehead President Trump plans to speak with German and French officials later on Monday. He said on a post he posted on Twitter that gave details later this week. Let me tell you, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, the overall relationship, wherever Germany, I said this before, wherever Germany goes, France must go. And they are leaving NATO. And who do you think they're going to align with? I wouldn't be surprised if Germany replaces India in the BRIC nations. Very, very strategically important. Next article from Global Research says, make no mistake, we are already in war in Syria. Something particular happened to American presidents after they take office on January the 20th. Featured image of Donald Trump with U.S. Army Major General Howard, commander of the Joint Headquarters in Arlington Cemetery. So check out that article. It is so true. Another good one, got a YouTube video, and I said the purge is coming into play big time soon. This was from 2018, the purge. And for those of you who know what I mean by the purge, there is a systematic purging of the U.S. globally for reasons, because I believe that we will be moving from not we. I think, and I can see the handwriting on the wall, or I can see evidence to substantiate and validate that there will be no United States in the future. It will be the untied states of America. And actually, during our presentation, we gave a lot of good information as to why that is happening and what it's going to look like and what it means. So definitely. So now this YouTube video was talking about how there was allegations that the State Department was engaged in that there were pedophiles within the State Department, that the State Department refused to reprimand or bring up for charges. And this is from Cerebrally Naive Network from back in, I'm sorry, this is from Today Show. So this is from 2013, but you can see how this is going to start to play out here coming shortly. Next article, I got this one from Sputnik News. Damascus warns Washington of response in case of new aggression against Syria. Last week, the White House claimed that a new attack involving chemical weapons was in the works by Syrian government. However, to decline to present any evidence, Washington vowed to make Syria authorities pay a heavy price. And then now what do we get? They were saying that this did happen. And so some of the Islamic rebels are saying that the Syrian army and Syrian government just did use chlorine gas, and we read that earlier. This is unfolding. Now, listen, everyone, major events that are happening here in the States. And this one comes from the Chicago Sun-Times. Illinois House okays income tax hike, spending plan, and the governor vows to veto. With the state on the cusp of a catastrophic credit downgrade, the Illinois House on Sunday voted to end the historical budget drop by passing a long-awaited spending plan, which seeks to pay for it by hiking the income tax, you ready, to 4.9%. But in actuality, ladies and gentlemen, it's a 35% increase in taxes. And this is critical. And this is not just Illinois, it's a bunch of other states. Next article from Sputnik News. U.S. Democrats want to remove Trump from White House for mental incapacity. Check out that article. Next one, this is to go right along with what's happening in Chicago. And this comes from the Chicago Tribune in Illinois, A judge says cash-strapped state must pay more towards medical bill. A federal judge on Friday ordered Illinois to start paying $293 million in state monies towards Medicaid bills every month, an additional $1 billion over the course of the year, worsening a cash flow problem caused by years of budget-free spending by the state government. Illinois is done economically. And not only did she do that, read this article, the judge now is making them show proof that they've been paying, that they're going to have to pay. This is major. Next article, I got this one from Bloomberg. America's pension bomb. Illinois is just the start. That is so true. Next article. I'm going to hurry up so we can get in the show with my man Chico-Stick. This one comes from Press TV. Iran should act so as to isolate the United States. So check out that article. Let me hurry up and get through this stuff, and that's actually what's happening. This one comes from Reuters. Putin has phone talks with Qatar. Bahrain on Gulf Road. Very, very important. Next article. Hey, you know what? Y'all know I'm not a movie watcher. So over the weekend, I was hanging out with a buddy, and he was watching the movie. He says, hey, Dave, I want you to check out this movie. And I kind of looked. He said, I know, you don't watch movies, but you'll pick up on this real quick. So I said, all right, cool. So was watching the movie. And the name of the movie was Olympus Has Fallen. And if you know what that movie is about, it was actually about it was a military operation where they took over the White House, and they wanted the Seventh Fleet to pull out of the Korean Peninsula, and for the U.S. to pull the army out of South Korea so that North Korea could invade South Korea. And man, what did I see? First thing I saw, as soon as it came, the vice president, if this dude didn't look just like Pence, to the point where he had the same darn tie and suit on. So y'all know I don't watch no movies, but it was no coincidence there, folks. I mean, to the T, and I got it posted there. Check that out. All right, so let's go. My man Raj posted this one from off the Grid News. Police can now say 2 words to enter your home. Yeah, we definitely did that. Right. We posted this one, a welfare check. Yeah, we definitely. Good one. Another article from Off Grid. Raj posted this one. 5 ways to keep food cold without electricity. Man, you need to know that. Definitely. Great article. Next one from Off Grid. Bankrupt states do not have the money for ambulance schools. Raj posted this one. School buses or the lottery. Government calls it a banana republic. Far more than that. So true. And that was Illinois again. Next one, Raj posted this one from Off the Grid. My parents survived the Great Depression. Here's the 4 things they taught me. Very important, because I was actually taught by my grandmother, who was in the Great Depression. Another one, Raj posted this one from Off the Grid as well. 5 ways your great-grandparents stockpile fresh produce. Check out that article. Next article, Raj posted this one of a YouTube. And he says, the greatest race traders in black history. Check out that YouTube video, and there is a lot of credence to that, but it wasn't just them. It was many others. But, yes, check it out, and there is so much to that you need to know. Next article, I posted this one from Cerebrally Naive Network. Emmanuel Macron assassination plot foiled by police. And that's the celebrity figurehead president of France. And it was going to happen. There was an assassination plot for when he was going to meet celebrity figurehead Donald Trump on the 14th of July. So check out that article. Next one, my man Raj posted this. NASA plans to put nuclear reactors on Mars to power human colonies. Yes, and you got that one from the Mirror. Great article. I think that they've always been there. And not only that, there's a bunch of other things going on there. So check out that article. Good article. Next one. This one comes from Psych Central News. Sleep issues tied to more suicidal symptoms in high-risk young adults. Raj posted that one. Next one. Next article I posted this one comes from Stock Board Assets. NASA says solar minimum is coming. U.S. government prepares. And we've been talking about that. We talked about saying that, hey, we're about to go through an ice age. And they've been lying about this global warming stuff. So NASA, solar minimum is coming. U.S. government preparing a new report and video out from NASA about the upcoming solar minimum has published. The report says that the solar minimum is coming, outlined. Every 11 years, the sun oscillates from a solar maximum to a solar minimum. And what that means, ladies and gentlemen, there will be less activity from the sun, which means that you get much colder, and all of the ice age come around solar minimum. So check out that article. Next one, last one, and then we're going to get in with my man Chico-Stick. And this is a really, really good, important, and we're going to talk about this one with Chico-Stick. as well. Pension time bomb in America. National crisis cometh. And we're going to hold that and come back to that one. And we're going to get into today's show with my man Chico-Stick, who is there. And because of that, let me see. No, I still need to do a couple of things. Let me log in so I can see the board. And we'll be good to go. 1 second. So if you'd like to get in on the conversation today, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit star. We'll see you in queue, and we'll definitely bring you up. And we'd love to hear from you because, as we always say, a dialogue is much more important than a monologue. And my man Chico-Stick is there. Chico-Stick, if you would unmute yourself, and I can see the board. And I see you already unmuted. Welcome, Chico-Stick, back to Thando Radio Show. Let me tell you, our listeners absolutely love when you come on because of all of the great information, and they're going to be in for another great show. And I just want to thank you, brother. What's happening, Chico-Stick? How you been and what's going on?
Oh, thank you, David, and thank you for your listeners. Man, I'm all right, working hard and just watching everything go down, watching all the pieces falling into place. But thank God we're good. The family is good, and thank God we still got our health, and we're still working, so that's all good. Sun is, sun
right.
rose, and I'm 6 feet over, so so that's good.
Always, man. Chico-Stick, once again, thank you, brother, for coming on. And today's show is the Entangled Web in Current and Future Events. And Chico-Stick, man, who else to have? Is really very few people that I would rather have on talking about some of the things is what's going on in the world, and just to give some of your perspective as to whether those things are. We talked last week, and you had said some things that I wanted you to just share with our listeners, because I think that there's a lot of validity to it, and it could stem in a lot of different ways. And so I said, hey, let's talk about it on Thando, and of course you are here. And so, Chico-Stick, we're in a very difficult time than ever before from a standpoint, if you want to take it from a standpoint of a country and a nation state. The U.S. is in a very difficult time than it ever has been before. Nothing, in my opinion, compares to it in the past. Because of what is faced today on so many fronts and in so many ways. And it's not just a regional or a sovereign problem with one or two nations. It's actually a global move that's happening. And I like to say there is a global disenfranchisement of the states that's happening because and the reason being is because there are other nuclear capable countries, which in my opinion is a good thing, that actually have economic power, economic standing, so the U.S. is losing all of its influence. And so that really plays in a bad way for every person that's here, because that means that your overall purchasing power, your livelihood, what you are used to, what you are accustomed to, is not in a position of being threatened anymore. It is actually being disassembled, and it's not going to be put back together again, in my opinion, because of how severe the dynamics are. Most people think that the U.S. dollar is not backed by, much at all. And then some people do know that the U.S. dollar is not backed by much. And what it is backed by, they can name. One is backed by the debt. Two is backed by the military. Three is backed by the petrodollar status that is being lost, and the reserve currency status. These are the things that actually back the U.S. dollar. That is the fiat standing of the U.S. dollar and what backs it. And one of the things that's very, very important about that is the thing that probably the biggest liability to everyone that's listening to this show about that backing of the U.S. dollar is most people don't know that every so-called U.S. citizen's labor ability to produce energy is backing the U.S. dollar. And that's the first thing that's going to be lost in the future, and it's not going to be a good thing. But the whole world is, gyrating in different directions and making their pushes and their pulls, and there's some, in my opinion, there are a lot of subversive plans that's happening and asymmetrical approaches to different things. And I think it's very important that we talk to our listening audience about that, and so that they can have an idea about some of the possibilities so that we don't get caught off guard in the future. So who better to bring on than Chico-Stick? So Chico-Stick, let's just start in wherever you want to start, from globally. But we had talked last week, and you had said something that was so important. I want you to lay that out. What's some of the things that you're seeing that are a threat to the everyday person here, and some of the concerns that you think are valid that people should be, protecting themselves against and making ready for, Chico-Stick?
Well, thank you. But if I can, I really thank you, Dave. Just let me say that for your introduction. I mean, you really make me sound better. I think I should probably record that and give it to my wife. But anyway, so what I'm
she won't believe it.
She probably won't. I mean, I want to tell your listeners that I analyze these things, and I look at them, and I read, and I see, and I watch, and I also pray, and I do all these things, and it's not, and I've been wrong, obviously, a lot of times. Once again, if you want a list of all the times I've been wrong, I mean, I could put my wife on, she'd take over the show, but the reality is that there's so many things that are going on, and it's almost, you always say, Dave, when you're in the middle of your show, you always have the tendency to say there's so much going on. But the reality of the matter is that there is so much like right now, there has been a wrench. We have to understand there's a wrench that was tossed into the whole world, the new world order, the globalist agenda. And that wrench was the election of Donald Trump. Not only that, but we also had Theresa May in England with the whole Brexit thing, which was before the election of Donald Trump. And the reason why these things are important is because we have to understand that the EU, and I know you've explained this before on your show, Dave, the EU, the European Union was supposed to be like the model of what the world would eventually look like. All the nations united, everybody together, they had like a little mini one little world government going on in Europe, and that was supposed to start to spread. Eventually you had to take out these dictators in the Middle East, then you had to, spread, it was supposed to spread, to the United States, and the United States was supposed to have the whole, what's it called, Dave? The TransUnion, where we're supposed to be Canada and Mexico. And
Mexico, yeah.
Supposed to be like one, and we're supposed to have one currency here, and that was supposed to happen, but that still didn't. So it keeps frustrating the globalists because, things keep going back. Russia was supposed to have been dealt with by now, and they haven't. China was supposed to be one of the last stages of this thing, and it seems that they're slipping away from that. And the problem is that once you have these guys, like, for example, Putin and even Medvedev, who was before him, start openly talking against the one world order. Medvedev, several years ago when he was the president, he gave a speech and openly spoke against the one world. Like he literally said, and I remember we spoke about this, David, he literally said, like, you think I know what you guys are doing. You're trying to bring about a new world order. He goes, but Russia, we will never be part of that one world order. And so when they said that, then China was like, and like, hey, one world order. Well, wait a second, we don't want anything to do with that either. And so of course that was an issue, but then that issue was placed on the back burner, and they said, well, okay, let us keep dealing with the Middle East. And so now, if you guys recall through history, all those dictators,
North American Union, Chico-Stick,
the North American Union, thank you. They were dealt with one by one. You got rid of the guy, with the the Arab Spring. Remember, you got rid of the Egyptian president. You got rid of Gaddafi. They got rid of Saddam Hussein. They've been trying to, and they can't get rid of Assad. And all these things, put it in just layman's terms, because there's so much, little things with the oil here and the, ISIS over there and ISIL over here and these people here. if you put it just in layman's term, what's trying to happen, what the globalists are trying to happen is position everything so that you have not necessarily everybody, like what happened in Genesis 11, where everybody was speaking the same language. It doesn't have to be that way, but as long as you have somebody that you can control, as long as you have somebody in power, a puppet who goes along with the program, you're fine. What happens is that Assad has been a thorn in everybody's side. And when I say everybody, I mean the globalists. More with Russia having a naval base there. So Russia has a naval base there, and I'm getting somewhere, Dave, so just bear with me.
No, I know you are. I'm with you. And it's the only naval base outside of Russia that Russia has. It's the only blue water naval base that Russia has outside of Russia. Go ahead, Chico-Stick.
Very, very important. It's the only one that they have. They actually set it up a while ago. I think 1979, if I remember, or 71, if I remember correctly. And it's the only one. And not only that, but it's a nuclear. It's a nuclear, naval base, which is very important. It has actually Israel very, very worried that it's actually a nuclear naval base. And so they're there. And so what's happening in parentheses, by the way, Dave, I don't know if you saw this, but Assad has been moving all his planes to that base. They're moving all his airplanes, so they won't get bombed because, if the United States or anybody or any of the NATO or any of the allies was to, drop a bomb on that base, I mean, that's war. I mean, that's just an act of war. So, of course, they're very careful not to touch anything there or around that Russian base. And so Assad, being smart, moved all his airplanes. They stuff them all on that base, because he doesn't want them to get bombed. But anyway, so here you have Russia is in Syria, okay? And so now, at the time when Obama was president, he couldn't really do much against Syria because the Russians are there, and the Russians are like, listen, something happens to us, it's going to be an act of war, so we can't get rid of Assad. Okay, but the globalists need to get rid of Assad because he's like the last one in that region, who's not going along with the program. He needs to go along with the program. So they've been trying to get rid of this guy for a long time now. And so you can see the hypocrisy of the United States. You can all go back. Those of you who are on your computer, you can go back and you can actually Google an image of Secretary Clinton at the time or Clinton and Kerry. They were having dinner here in the United States with Assad. They were chilling. Having a nice dinner and all of that. Everybody was cool. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was homeboys, and there was no issues until his ticket came up and said, "Listen, my man, not for nothing, but I mean that's it. You got to go. You got to roll." And then that's when it became a problem because just as it tends to happen, like what happened with Gaddafi. Now, I'm not a Gaddafi fan. I remember as a child all the things that Gaddafi did, but it just so happened that Gaddafi was chilling. Gaddafi, nobody in his country had any beef. There was no humanitarian issues because Gaddafi had a stronghold in his country. So he was just doing his thing. Whether or not he was sending money here or there, that's something that could be investigated. That's something that hasn't been completely proven, although I know there's a lot of media reports that will swear up and down. But, hey, the media, who can necessarily trust them? But Gaddafi wasn't really doing much. But they had to take him out anyway. And so just the same way with Saddam Hussein, when they said, well, listen, he has weapons of mass destruction. To this date, we still don't know where they are. But the issue is that we needed, or the globalists needed, to take them out. So in layman's term, and I want to, just reiterating for all of us, for the listeners, looking at a layman's term and not at each individual little thing that's happening in each country, we have to position, or they have to position everything in order to bring about this whole one world system that they wanted so desperately, since the inception, since they took over North America, when George Washington and the likes came over. They need that. Now, what's happening now, Dave? What we were talking about, what's happening with North Korea and all these threats that this guy keeps making? Okay, we want your listeners to understand that these threats that this guy is making, okay, it comes a point in time when he's either completely insane and he's lost it, and there's just something wrong with him, or then it starts to become like, okay, they're laying it on kind of thick here. You know what I mean? It comes to the point where you have to wake up and start to understand. Well, wait a second, because okay, you told me yesterday you were going to blow me up, and then you told me this morning you're going to blow me up, and you just sent me another email about half an hour ago. You're going to blow me up. Okay, I get it. So you're going to blow me up, oh, I'm going to blow you up. And so what's happening is when you start looking at these things, look at the threats that North Korea is making. He's putting out all these propaganda videos, these cartoon videos of the United States getting blown up, the United States in crosshairs, and all these things. And once Trump started talking to the Chinese president, President Xi, right, he kind of cut it out a little bit. But then he started threatening again. And what we were talking about, for your listeners to know last week, Dave and I, was that then I believe, in my analysis, was that North Korea made one little boo-boo. And that boo-boo was when North Korea then turned around and snapped at the Chinese government. It's first time, unprecedented, never happened. Okay, and you guys can look this up on the internet. What North Korea did, he gave up, and I have the quote here. The North Korean media put out, and it said, quote, a string of absurd and reckless remarks are now being heard from China every day, only to render the present bad situation tenser. Okay, and then it says, China had better ponder over the grave consequences to be entailed by its reckless act of chopping down the pillar of the DPRK in China relations. So here comes Kim Jong-un, okay, threatening China with grave consequences. Since when does that happen? That doesn't happen.
Right.
I mean, North Korea is literally like a roach, in front of a, 240-pound, muscled out, yoked out guy. I mean, they depend on China for everything. For everything. They have some stuff coming in like with Iran and things of that nature, but nothing gets through to North Korea without Chinese consent. Okay? China literally has their boot on their neck. And if President Xi wanted to, I mean, he can just devastate that country. He can stop all kinds of trade, can stop all kinds of medicine, all kinds of food going into that country, and they'd be done. They'd be done like in 3 months. I mean, they'd be done.
Right.
Okay? So then the question then comes is then why would North Korea start snapping at China? Now, what we discussed was that it seems to be because of what the United States continues to do. Now, please, I want your listeners to keep in mind, take Donald Trump out of this equation right now, because he's the president, but take him out of the equation. I'll explain why we need to take him out of the equation. Just let's talk about the United States, the military complex, okay, that exists. Just let's talk about the globalists and the people who are pulling the strings behind the scenes. But take Donald Trump out for a second, okay? So what the United States continues to do, and they haven't stopped, is continuing to set up missile defense shields all around the eastern part of Europe, okay, like in Romania. Right. They just activated one in Romania, a couple months back,
mm-hmm.
which completely ticked off Russia. But when you see the reasoning of the United States today, not necessarily a year ago, 2 years, but if you see the reasoning today, because we have a bunch of missile defense systems, we got a bunch of missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, and all kinds of stuff lined up all along the Eastern Europe, and also in allied countries such as, South Korea, Japan, and in the Korean Peninsula, and off the ocean and off the coast. We have a bunch. And when asked today, well, in layman's terms, using my own words, and when asked today, well, why are you still, Russia is cool. I mean, Russia, they're not really threatening anything against the United States. Why are we still, using these Cold War tactics, setting up all these missile defense shields and all? What we say in layman's terms is, well, no, because look at North Korea. This guy, he's putting out videos every day. He's putting out more videos than Puff Daddy used to. You know what I mean? He's saying that we're out here, that they're going to kill us, that he's going to send out missiles, that he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And so now what we have is a justification to continue to set up missile defense shields, because every time Russia says, hey, what are you guys doing? You're setting up another one? The United States says, hey, look at North Korea. I mean, the guy doesn't shut up. So we set up another one. Russia comes over, and Russia's like, hey, do you need another one? Well, yeah, because he says he's going to blow up our allies. So, they can't reach us, but we got to take care of our allies. So Russia got to shut up. You know what I mean? So then we set up another one. We just opened up that one in Romania. Well, you need another one? Well, yeah, we need another one, because look at this guy, Kim Jong-un. I mean, he doesn't shut up. You see? And so what happened was, the reason why I said there was a boo-boo is because then he criticized the Chinese president, the Chinese government, and I think the Chinese government was like, hey, dude, relax, man. Hey, you're taking it a step further. I hope you guys are, your listeners are tracking to what I'm analyzing, that the Chinese government is saying, dude, you didn't have to, like, take it that far. If you guys could imagine, like, a comical skit, you know, and then Kim Jong-un said,
Right.
oh, I'm sorry, is that, you know, I was in the moment, you know, my bad, and he took it back, you know, and that was the mistake that I think kind of made their hand be seen to what's going on, because China,
Right.
now listen to this, China has to be in on this. You see, the Chinese president comes in and visits Trump. Remember, China was, oh, my God, big bad China, you know what I mean? China didn't particularly like Obama or his policies. You know, nobody really liked, you know, China. But here comes Trump, and out of all the people that Trump has visited with, President Xi was the only one. They spent the whole weekend together. They spent like a 3-day weekend together in Mar-a-Lago, chilling, playing golf, eating, hanging out. Trump's daughter had her 2 little kids come out and speak Mandarin Chinese, and everybody like, oh, my God, you know,
Right.
everybody, oh. And so they had this, so they were together the whole weekend. And so now, remember, Trump said that, you know, they were, during the campaign, oh, they were currency manipulators. Oh, they're this. We're going to slap them with this fee. We're going to do this. We're going to do. But they leave, and now they're homeboys. So now they leave, and China gets back, you know, a Chinese president gets back home, and here comes Kim Jong-un, you know what I mean, criticizing the Chinese president. There's going to be grave consequences, you know. I think he overstepped his boundaries, and I think they showed the hand. You see, China and Mayan. Go ahead.
Yeah, they exposed the collusion that was being worked. Yeah, go ahead, Chico-Stick. I didn't want to. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. Thanks. That's the word I was looking for. You see, so now, let me back up a little bit. If you had to pick what side you want to help you, okay, you know, and they're both bad, would you pick, let's look at it at a financial, economic, and as a strength point of view. Would you want Russia on your side, or do you want China on your side? I mean, we don't want both, right? But just let's think about it. You know what I mean? Think about it. You know, do you want the biggest, baddest dude, or do you want the coolest, smoothest dude? You know what I mean? So Russia's cool. He's smooth. You know, Putin, no shirt. You know, riding the Marlboro man, the whole thing on the horse. You know, all the women crazy for him. Blah 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 blah. Or do you want China, who has 1 million man infantry? You know what I mean? And got ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic nuclear missiles up the yin-yang. I mean, this guy, I mean, this is no joke. And not only that, but China also happens to be producing most of the stuff that we buy. You know, we have a symbiotic relationship. We need Russia. I mean, we need China right now. And China really needs the United States because we're the biggest buyer of all the stuff that they make. You see, and not only that, but China, they have what? 1 billion, you know, 1.6 billion people. They need work for all those people. Okay, they need work for all those people. If not, they're going to rebel and just, you know, overrun the government. So the United States provide that. They provide that work for them. Okay, so now here comes the United States and says, well, you know something, me and you, let's work together. Let's have a little deal.
Real quick, just to add on to that, I mean, because you look at the overall petrodollar status was set up. Really, first it had to go through China for it to work, and that's why Nixon sent Kissinger over to China, and then Nixon is the only president to ever go to China. So the overall collusion and the overall brokering of deals and the affiliations is very, very strong because of, you know, and it gives, you know, validity to what you're saying and what you're laying out. So I just wanted to for our listeners to know that, because remember when Kissinger went over to and it was an emergency, when Kissinger went over to China, when he was just a national security advisor before he became the Secretary of State, he brokered such a good deal, not with Saudi Arabia, but with China. Came back, he becomes the Secretary of State. And then what does Nixon do after he comes back? He sends in July, Kissinger goes over, makes the deal with China, and then comes back. And that's when 2 weeks later, Nixon closes the gold window. Why? Because all the gold went to China, and that was the deal. That was the deal. So definitely it's being laid out, and just to give some historical importance and relevance to what you're saying, And remember, Russia and China have not always, they're actually enemies. And we talked about this on Thando Radio Show, that after the war with the U.S. and everything, I definitely said that I can see China and Russia going to war. And in my opinion, China will definitely win that one. So just what you're laying out is really, really good. Hold on, Chico-Stick. We're going to get ready to go to a commercial break because I don't want you to get too into it and be interrupted by the commercial break. Listen, everyone, if you'd like to get in on the conversation at any time, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit **, and we'll see you in queue. And what's being laid out here, if you look at the overall strategical importance, Syria is important because of the natural gas pipeline and the overall ties to Iran, the oil that goes through and the natural gas that goes through there. So those areas have to be taken for natural resources to uphold the overall economy. And Libya was important because it is the gateway to the Mediterranean and to that area, and they have light, sweet crude oil there. It is a strategically important place to hold in order to have a blue navy to weigh your overall means throughout the world. It's strategically important. And then now, the overall in the South Sea of China, one of the largest trade routes in the world, and it's only going to expand. Now you can see the importance here, and this is something that we need to be taking notice of, and Chico-Stick's going to lay it out. We'll give our opinion. We'd love to hear from you as to what you think and what this could mean. So listen, we're getting ready to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Talk Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
Welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We have a live show for you today. Is with my man Chico-Stick, and he's laying out some of the geopolitical roadmaps and the deals that are backdoor deals that are possibly being established. And we'd love to hear from you what you think and what does this mean and why is this so important. We'll definitely try to lay that out. So I want to get back to Chico-Stick, and so give us a call if you'd like to get in, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit **. I'll see you in queue. I'm on the board. I'll see you, and we'll definitely bring you up. So we're going to go back to Chico-Stick. Go ahead, Chico-Stick. Let's pick back up where you left off.
Yeah, thanks. So then what happens now basically is that what you have is what appears to be the collusion, a backroom deal with China and the United States, okay, against Russia. You see, but China is not openly doing anything against Russia. This is the way China's part in this works. See, China, like we said, can control North Korea at any time. Okay, it's like their Chihuahua.
Which borders Russia.
Exactly. Okay, but that's the brilliance of this whole thing, is what I'm saying, because the United States and their allies, and they keep putting up all these missile defense systems all around. They literally have encircled Russia, okay? But they're saying, but it's because North Korea, they can launch it in any direction. They can go over the North Pole, so we need to have stuff up there. They can go over, they can go into Alaska, so we got to have stuff on that side of the Pacific, and so they say all these things, okay? So what's happening now is that, or the way China's part in this is that China is now in collusion and talking with North Korea. And basically, it's again putting it all in layman's terms. It's basically, hey, listen, China's talking to North Korea and says, hey, listen, Kim, I need you to, go ahead and keep making threats. Put out a threat like once a week or something. 2 times a week, whatever you feel you need to do to give to you know what I mean? Because we want it to make it credible. We wanted to make it credible, and then we want the people in the United States, oh, my God, yes, we got to keep funding a missile defense system because, my God, if this guy North Korea, if this guy, he's a wacko, this guy's crazy. I mean, he is, but, it makes it even worse. It's like, this guy's a wacko. He's going to kill everybody. He's talking about nuclear holocaust. We can't allow that. Yes, let's keep putting this missile defensive. And Russia keeps talking against it. They never put this out on the regular media, that Russia has been talking about this. As a matter of fact, I have an article I brought up during the break, and it's entitled, it's called Why Moscow Doesn't Believe Washington on Missile Defense, or on Almost Nothing. That's the way it's spelled. Just awesome. It's written by a guy named F. William Engel. But what it says here, this is going back to 2008. Okay, and what it talks here in this article is how then President Medvedev, says that he said he was prepared to deploy, and I'll read a part. It says he's prepared to deploy its missiles on the border of the EU between Poland, Lithuania, near Georgia, and NATO member Turkey to counter the advanced construction process of the U.S. ballistic missile defense shield. Quote, the Russian Federation will deploy in the west and the south of the country modern weapons system that could be used to destroy the European component of the U.S. missile defense system, end quote. Basically saying I'm going to move my missiles so that if I feel I got to destroy the U.S. missile defense system, I could do it in a split second. He goes, so he ordered all. See, again, this is the kind of stuff that nobody hears on the news. So we're building missile defense systems, supposedly because Kim Jong-un, but the Russians keep moving their missile defense systems to counter ours because they, according to them, they know what the deal is. Okay, we have to understand that these Russians, they're not, they have spying technology which is world-renowned. Okay, they got spies all up and down the U.S. China may have one or two, but they're not as sophisticated as the Russians. I mean, the Russians have been spying for many years. Okay, and they know, when they make moves like this, they know why they're doing it. Okay, we have to understand Russia has a huge territory, but they don't have that many people. Okay, Russia doesn't have as many, and their army isn't as big either. As a matter of fact, Russia, this is kind of funny, and I don't know if your listeners know about this, but Russia actually...
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, we laid it out for the Russian military in the series that we're doing, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if you guys remember this, but a few years ago, I think probably almost 10 years ago or something like 8 years ago, they actually, they signed into law in Russia that if a couple, they have a make love day or something like that, in Russia. It's like an official Russian holiday, and it's like and if you become pregnant on that day and you can prove it, the Russian government, they give you something like $300,000. They just buy your house and they pay for your, the health care and everything for your baby to be born. Because they're trying to encourage people to have babies. They don't have enough people. I mean, they have nothing. They have nothing compared to what China has. You see? And so that's what kind of it's kind of messing them up, like in their plans, that they can't really. So when everybody hears like, oh, Russia's going to invade the United States, and unfortunately you hear that a lot in Christian circles. I mean, I have to put that out there, and it's really sad, when you hear, oh, God told me that Russia's going to, invade the United States. No, they're not. No, they're not. Listen, brother, I'm sorry. I don't know what spirit you listen to, but no, they're not. They don't have they don't have the capability. I mean, can they launch a nuclear missile? Yes, they could do that. Yeah, but when they say they're going to invade, God showed me in a vision, Russian troops roaming the street. No, he didn't. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine Russians? They don't have enough people to take over Los Angeles. Could you imagine the Russian troops trying to go into Los Angeles? They got to go up against Ray and Jose and Pico and Enrico Suave and everybody. I mean, you got not just the military, then you have the National Guard, then you have the police force, and then you have every dude on the street. They got a gun. You think Russia's going to be that stupid to send their infantry, their most prized infantry that again they don't really have much of one? They're going to send it into the streets of L.A. or New York to deal with all of that. They're going to get slaughtered. I mean, yeah, they might do some damage, but they're going to get slaughtered. So no,
and they don't have the Navy to do that. They don't have the naval. They don't have the Blue Navy to do that. They don't have the capabilities of doing that. This is why their missiles is their defense is they have to defend by missiles. because as Chico-Stick says, Russia has never been invaded successfully. You can't invade Russia because there's nothing out there and it's harsh. So Chico is absolutely right. They don't have the means to actually invade any real country. But go ahead, Chico-Stick.
But you're absolutely right, exactly. And so, like you said, their big thing is their missiles. So everybody, well, he got the ICBMs. We got to chill out because we don't want this guy, going crazy. So we got to chill out. So that's why everybody leave Russia alone. He's cool. Leave him alone. You see? But this is the problem. He is not playing along with the one world order. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. What president is going to come after, Putin? Putin's been holding on to power forever because I don't know if your listeners remember, but Putin used to be the prime minister. Then, then Medvedev took over. Then Medvedev, slid back down. Then Putin came back up. You know what I mean? So it's like they're playing like you go, then it's my turn, then you go, now it's my turn. So they've been holding on to power for a long time. So I don't know what's going to happen after that. If he's just going to change the laws to continue to stay in power, or if he's just going to put another puppet and then he'll slide back down to do something like, defense secretary or, whatever, and then come back, a few years later. Who knows? But as of right now, they openly talk against this whole one world order. So he's the problem. Okay? Now, where does the new President Trump fit on all of this? Because, see, President Obama, he was hip to all of this stuff. Because, whether or not, your listeners, are aware of this again, like I've always said to you, Dave, this has nothing to do, I'm telling you the analysis, this has nothing to do with politics, like, oh, I like, Obama and I hate Trump, or I like, Hillary, or this has nothing to do with that. They're just players, okay? They're just players in this big game, okay? But Obama knew. He knew what the score was. Like, he knew all the stuff, you know what I mean? And he went along with this whole one world thing. You have to understand that. Okay, he went along with this whole one world thing because that's something that for whatever reason he believed. He went to Europe a bunch of times. He went to Germany, gave this speech. This is the stuff that he believed in.
Yep.
He was part of the globalists, who wanted to push this one world agenda. He gave his one world agenda just like Bush and his father, Bush before him. They wanted this one world agenda. They were pushing it. I mean, you guys can look up reports, go on the internet and look up even the Pope Francis calls that we need a one world order, and not only that, but he went further. He goes, we need a one world bank. I mean, this is the Pope. It's like, dude, why aren't you preaching? Why are you talking about one world bank? But anyway, so here we have, everybody pushing this idea, but now here comes Trump, and he's elected, and everybody hates him. Now, we have to understand why. It's not because, he's a male chauvinist, not because he's a pig, not because, like they said I was listening to Cat Williams. I know you guys know who Cat Williams is. Cat Williams was funny. He said, man, for the first time in my life, I turned on the TV, I heard something I've never heard before. I never thought I would hear before. He says, you got to grab women by their blanks. He goes, I thought I never heard that before in a presidential election, but there you go. So you have this guy who people say, he's a pig, he's a charlatan, he's this, he's that. And we have to understand that
you got to call in Q, just so you know, Chico-Stick.
When the world hates you, when the world hates you, or the media hates you, or this group of people hate you, it's because you're doing something that's going against everything. You have to understand that. And now, I'm not saying, I'm not talking about his when I make this reference, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about his Christianity or his faith or anything like that. But the example that I use is when in the scriptures, and you guys know that I often quote scripture, in the scriptures when the Lord said, listen, they hated me, they're going to hate you. And the slave can't be greater than the master. So you're not going to go around and, you living a good life and everybody loves you, but they hated me, because then that means you're doing something wrong. You're not doing what I did if everybody loves you and you're the man. You see what I mean? So here comes this guy, and he's the wrench that was thrown into this whole thing. And he got elected, and people still scratching their heads like, oh, my God, what are we going to do now? Because now the plans that Hillary was supposed to continue for this whole push for the one world movement, the whole one world order, is now in a backspin. It's literally in a tailspin. And we can go into these other countries that you mentioned before, but I think you want to take your call, Dave. Yeah, we're going to take this caller real quickly, Chico-Stick, and definitely. And my man Scotty says, I'll catch up with that. He said they wanted Hillary, but they got Trump. Yep, so true.
And so now it's time to now they want to get rid of them. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, because he makes it easy as well. Very, very easy for that too. So, all right, let's get to this caller. Welcome, caller. I think it's Brother Davis. I know it is Brother Davis. Yeah, it's Brother Davis. Welcome, caller, Brother Davis or Sister Davis. Welcome on to your show. What's your question and comment for Chico-Stick, Brother Davis? I wasn't sure if it was you or Sister Davis. What's going on, Brother Davis? You on with Chico-Stick?
I can't complain, brother. I can't complain. How you doing, Brother Chico?
Always good to hear the voice of a friend.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
Absolutely. Listen, I wanted to ask you this, since when the Pope came back in 2 years ago, when he was in New York and made his presentation, he also stated that Jesus wasn't the head of the church, and that the church should seriously consider the operation of a one-religion world.
Yes, he
now,
did.
Let me ask you this.
That's right, Brother Davis.
Not a problem. Let me ask you this. Do you think that that's possible? And if so, what route of action do you think you will take next? And I'll go back in the room and listen, brother.
Okay, that's a good question, Brother Davis. Thank you. In my opinion, that is possible, and not only is it possible, I believe that based on just prophecy, it's going to happen, and it has to happen. I mean, it has to happen if we are to believe the scriptures. You know, the Pope is going to his reign over the church, as you know, as we would call it, is going to slide back down. You're going to see it happening because he has to start saying things. You see the way Brother Davis just spoke about that. See, the Pope throws this. It's like everybody. They throw like a little fish hook out there. You know, in Spanish they say a gancho. They just throw something out there and just let it ferment. And everybody's like, wow, did he just say that? That Jesus is the head of the church? Who? What? How? You know? And that just lays back there. But when the time comes for these things to happen, you know, that's what we already talked about. You know, they're going to look, well, yeah, that's what we said. You understand what I'm saying, David?
Yes, definitely. Yes. I'm sorry, I was just reading something Scotty said. Yes.
Because, you know, you have to, you know, there's people, and I don't know which way you want to take the show, Dave, because what Brother David has, it kind of goes into like, you know, like it has to go into biblical prophecy because the Pope obviously represents, you know, he's the representation of God on earth. That's really what the Pope is. I mean, according to the Catholic faith. Okay, but you have to understand that. Also that, you know, like evangelicals and Baptists and Pentecostals and, you know, they don't really recognize the Pope as, you know, having any kind of authority. You know what I mean? So thank God for that, I guess, you know. But he's going to have to slide back down, and he's going to have to continue to preach this because according to the scriptures, he or one of his followers or one of the people associated with the church is going to wind up being most probably the false prophet. You know, somebody who can call fire, somebody who can, you know, perform miracles, you know, before the beast, which most Christians call the Antichrist, before the beast is to come. And this beast, who's going to be the representation, who's going to be, let's say, the worldwide president, okay, the false prophet is going to tell everybody this is the guy you have to worship. You see? So yeah, this is the man. I mean, there's no mention of Jesus. This is the guy that everybody has to look for because this is the guy who's going to solve all our issues. This is the guy who's going to solve our problems. Again, that's, you know, biblical prophecy. You go into, you know, Daniel. You can also go into the book of Revelation, you know, and find those things if you guys want to read up on that.
Hey, brother, hold on, Chico-Stick. We got another caller in queue. You ready for another call, Chico-Stick?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, cool. We got caller, my brother Mel, out of OK. Mel, welcome on Thando Radio Show. What is your question or comment for Chico-Stick today, brother? Go ahead.
Peace, brothers.
Peace, Big Mel.
Yo, I just had a random question. Why did the United States order like 30,000 guillotines when Obama was in office? But that's not my question. I was just throwing that out there.
I missed you, Mel. Your phone went out. I couldn't hear you. I don't know if Chico-Stick or anyone else could hear you. You said, why did, and then it kind of faded out. Say it again.
why did the United States order like 30,000 guillotines?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Why did they do that? What was that about? Who was that for?
Well, I don't know if you guys research. When that happened, I think that was in 2013. When that happened, we started looking into it. I couldn't find anything to verify that. I don't know if that's true. Up to date, I haven't been able to find, if that was true or not. I mean, it might have been something that circulated in the internet. They talked about how some of them were like half of them or something was in Georgia and the other half was like in Montana, and start beheading people now. Just because there's, it's not verified, we can't verify. That doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, because we can see very clearly, Brother Mel, that most things that are in the news, we've come to find out later it's false. It's fake.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Yes.
So
what about the
and then the conspiracies are true.
Well, conspiracy agendas or conspiracy theories.
Right. Conspiracy agendas. Yeah. And Mel said, what about the coffins? Now, Chico-Stick, Mel was asking, what about the coffins?
The coffins are real. Okay? Now, the excuse, or I shouldn't say the reasoning behind the coffins is because it's the same reason why they keep, telling everybody, well, listen, you have to be prepared. Remember the NASA video? The NASA spokesman puts out a video. Everybody who lives by the coast, make sure you have enough food, enough water. You have a bug-out bag. You have, 72 hours worth of rations at least. And they put out all these things, and everybody's like, oh my God, why is the guy in NASA telling us that we have to prepare for these things? Now, in zone 6, I think, FEMA zone 6, they have just a bunch of coffins. And I can tell you firsthand, well, I can't tell you secondhand, let's say, because my family is in Puerto Rico. And I have a cousin who just retired, a lieutenant police officer. And I also have a bunch of family out there, who are involved in the, in the National Guard. And they've told me this. As a matter of fact, David, I don't know if I sent it to you. I got a picture like a couple of years ago. Man, I should have.
I remember. Yeah, you sent it to me. Yeah. Yeah, that's why when he said the coffins, I kind of snuckled and laughed, because I said, oh, yeah, Chico-Stick gonna tell you. Yeah. He sent it to me right away.
Yeah, Brother Mel, the coffin things are real, and they're just stockpiling them in Puerto Rico. And the reason why they're stockpiling them in Puerto Rico, again, and this is just Puerto Rico. I can't speak for what they're doing in the country, but in Puerto Rico, the reason why they're stockpiling it is because they have reason to believe. I mean, I don't know where they're getting it, but they have reason to believe that in the immediate future, or sometime in the immediate future, there's going to be some kind of asteroid strike somewhere around the Caribbean. And they know it's going to take them a lot. As a matter of fact, they've gone so far, and I'm telling you this as you're listening to me today, because my aunts, everybody's all over there. As a matter of fact, they have we have a beachfront property. Not that's don't think it's, oh my God, he's rich. Trust me, beachfront property in Puerto Rico is none. You got pigs and dogs, everybody walking around, so it's not as fancy as you think, But they live right up on the beach, and the National Guard went around giving everybody flyers and like little booklets, and ordered everybody to have. My aunt says, I have they made us, have bug-out bags. She didn't call it a bug-out bag. That's, I'm telling you. She said they made us have bags ready, 72 hours worth of food. We have to have our shoes and everything ready by the door. They've done drills where they'll sound the alarm, the tsunami alarms, and they already told everybody the evacuation routes, do not take cars because they'll jam the streets. So they already prepped everybody on the island for like the last, 2-3 years for something that's coming that nobody knows what it's supposed to be or when it's supposed to strike. The reality of the matter is, like my cousins told me, he says, if it does strike, there's absolutely no way. Once they sound that tsunami alarm, there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to get to them. I mean, that's like you ever seen a tsunami wave? That's just going to come in. Nobody's going to run to no hills.
It's faster than the plane.
But the thing about it is, in order for the government to wash their hands and the CYA, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, we told them to be prepared. We told them to get ready. So everything that we could do, they've already, as a matter of fact, they've pulled back, listen to this, they've pulled back the National Guard bases from the beach. They put them up in the mountains. See, a lot of people don't know about that. But they moved them back up to the mountain into higher, into higher territory up there to get them away from potential waves and to try and salvage, from whatever's coming. So as far as the coffins are concerned, they are 100% real.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my last question, Brother Chico-Stick. is with our relationship with China. Like you mentioned earlier about, pulling
their relationship.
Yes. Thank you. But like, the ones that's really pulling the string, man, are we already too intertwined in bed, laid out down with dogs type, get fleas? I mean, I think we already too embedded. Us in China, well, them in China is too late. We're just going to go into receivership, but it's not going to, I don't know. I don't even know really my question, but I'm like, damn.
I know exactly where you're going. At least I think I do. And you're absolutely right. And I was probably going to just quickly touch on that later on. You're absolutely right. It is, as far as the whole scheme of things, because remember, let's not lose ourselves with the little things here and, oh my God, they're raising taxes there. All that stuff is a distraction. It's real, but it's all a distraction. But as far as the big scheme of things, aren't we all intertwined? Aren't we too far along to say, hey, we're going to stop this? No, we're going to do our own thing. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. We're too far, intertwined with the whole, not just with China, but with the whole globalist. Because we have to understand that it's what they call the hidden hand behind the whole thing. Like all the Masons, everybody puts their hand in their breast pocket, like Napoleon and everybody. That's the hidden hand that's behind the whole globalist movement. And it has
Jesuits do that all the time. Yeah,
it has to happen, and that comes from, by the way, when Moses said, "You're going to send me. Who am I?" And God said, "Put your hand inside your breast," and He took it out. It had, leprosy, and He put it back in, and it was cured again. That's the power behind the hand. The hidden hand is what they call it. And of course, the devil always does things to copy. But anyway, this thing, like you're saying, Mel, what happens is, that's why I was saying that the wrench that was thrown in was the election of Donald Trump, and not only that, but the vote for the people to Brexit, for the whole Brexit, because it's not going to stop it. It's not going to stop. All they're doing is delaying, and what it is, it's making the globalists more desperate, which is kind of also bad. It's making them desperate because they wanted to be somewhere by now in their plans, and now it's like, we, elected this idiot now, and, we have these idiots in Europe, all revolting and trying to get out of the EU, and they're trying desperately to hold it together. And the reason why that's going to make it dangerous, Mel, and, for all the rest of the listeners, the reason why it's dangerous is because once you start getting desperate, once you start getting impatient, then that's when, number one, you make mistakes, which I think that whole North Korea thing was a mistake when, he started talking to China bad. But when they start making mistakes, but now they might want to do things to kind of like nudge us along where we're supposed to be, you see? And nudging us along would mean nothing short of war, okay? And that's going to be a problem, right? Because the kind of war we fight today is not going to be, like back in the days, shooting, some bayonets come out, a couple of boots on the ground. Hey, it could be catastrophic because we have drones, but guess what? They have drones too. And we don't have the capability to stop every single little drone. So, you're walking, down the street one day, hey, let's go to Macy's, let's go to, J.C. Penney. They got some sales July the 4th, boom, and the whole thing just comes up. That's the kind of new war that we're talking about. You know what I mean? And that's why it's very dangerous.
Exactly, because the overall, there is no, in today's world, and I believe that all of these entities are in cahoots with each other. In today's world, there is no garrison. There is no front line. There is no area behind the front lines. There's no such thing as being on the front lines because you have cyber attacks, you have bioweapons by the food, you have everything, you have weather manipulation. Who's going to get away from an earthquake? Who's going to get away from a volcano? And now they're talking about Yellowstone and everything. I just want to add one of the things that I had researched and I saw was that the U.S. had made deals with Brazil to take on their citizens. They actually paid Brazil to take on U.S. citizens. And who do you think those U.S. citizens are? It ain't you and me. it's to take on their citizens after a natural disaster of biblical proportions. And what would that be? That's Yellowstone or something much more. And what is Yellowstone doing now? So it's just so many variables, and all of this stuff can be used against us by technology. That's the hidden hand of power, is technology. So definitely. Go ahead, Chico-Stick. Well, yeah, we got 2 more minutes, Chico-Stick, before we got to go to our last commercial break. So go ahead.
Okay, so then let me throw this in for the 2 minutes. Then you have what you spoke about, and these are things that are distractors. They're real things, but they're distracted because you spoke about this. So
right.
That's why I'm mentioning it. Okay, Russia supplies Germany with gas. Okay, so we know that. Okay, so now they put those sanctions, like you spoke about before, on some of these Russian entities. So what's that going to do? Well, Russia says, well, you know something, I'm just going to stop the gas to your boys in Germany. So Germany doesn't like that, and so she's kind of coming out against Trump now, saying, listen, you guys got to stop that because now they're going to screw us up with our gas. We need gas to live. My people need gas, right? So here comes the United States and says, okay, well, listen, you need gas. We'll sell it to you. Don't worry about Russia. And as a matter of fact, we'll sell it to you a few cents cheaper. How's that? You see? So in that sense, yeah, it's happening where the United States is trying to make that money. Trump is all about making money. I mean, you got to understand that he's all about making money. He's like, oh, we'll put the sanctions on it, but it's kind of like a back sort of, down and dirty way to make the money. But in the actuality, that's what's happening. You have the wild card where we can talk into in your next segment. The wild cards in this whole thing is going to be Russia, Syria, China, and North Korea. Those are the wild cards that we got to look for. Okay. And Iran. The EU was almost collapsing, and they may still collapse, but because May lost, and for the listeners who don't understand what happened with Theresa May, I can explain it, and it'll take a minute to explain what happened when she lost the majority in the House, because she really stepped in it, and and it backfired on her. So we can talk about that real quick also, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, getting ready to go to a commercial break, and if you got another caller in queue, Chico-Stick, so we'll go to that caller right when we come back. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
The Black Talk Media Project launched the digital radio platform Black Talk Radio Network, the first such platform created to serve the black community specifically. Black Talk Radio Network has grown with a variety of radio hosts, digital radio stations, and podcasters. Web analytics say Black Talk Radio, the platform, has an online reach that ranks it among the top independent black media platforms in the world. All of this is possible because of financial contributions to the nonprofit Black Talk Media Project. If you love the work we do and the voices and perspectives we bring to you every day, make a donation today to ensure that Black Talk Radio is here in the future. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave, from L.A., with my man Chico-Stick is here. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit **. We'll see you in queue, and we'll definitely bring you up. And the reason why we bring this type of stuff, because these are some of the things that you should know so that you and your family in our community can make the proper preparation so that when things go awry, you will be prepared and not will be in the same mix as those that don't know and in the masses, because that's what this system wants. It can only really sustain itself through ignorance, and that is very, very critical. So we got our man Chico-Stick with us here, and we got another caller in queue, Chico-Stick. So when you're ready to take that caller, let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do that.
Okay, we got a caller out of I think I know who this is. I think is, but I'm gonna let them say because I don't want to be wrong. Welcome, caller, area code 719. Welcome to Thando Radio Show. What is your name? Where you're calling from? And what is your question and comment for Chico-Stick?
Hey, what's up, Dave? What's up, Scotty?
Ramon, what's up, brother?
Oh, man, enjoying my day off. I got a good one going on. I just wanted to ask Chico. I was wanting to ask Chico. I've been stumbling into like a lot of grassroots news articles and moms and pops from overseas and stuff, but particularly one here in America. A gentleman, and I put it on your page, Dave, about a week ago. There's a gentleman, or from articles I've been reading about Egypt. I wanted to know what is Egypt's role in all this? Because an article I read said Egypt has set themselves up to be a very strategic person or a country in this whole chaos we're talking about. And that's my question.
Well, as far as I mean, there's a spiritual, okay, but then there's also, and they might actually have more information on Egypt than I do. But the as far as Egypt is concerned, you see, when we took out that Egyptian guy, and you guys got to forgive me because I don't have, I forget his name. But when we took him out, he was more of a dictator. No, he was more of a dictator than anything, and he was a guy who he wasn't going along with the program. We have to understand that we have to, and I keep saying we only because we live in the United States, but the globalists need people to go along. So it is a strategic point. It sits on the Mediterranean. So as far as military is concerned, it is a strategic point. I mean it's a good base. It's not far from Israel if anything happening. It's a good strategic point. Launching place in the Mediterranean. And it's good to have them as an ally because then we can fly our airplanes over and we can land and fuel and do things of that nature. But you have to remember, we always need people who are going to go along with the program. And that guy wasn't going along with the program. So next thing you know, how do you get along with this? Because he was democratically elected. I mean, he's a Democrat. It's how do we do this? We can't just go in and kill people the way, it used to be done before. So lo and behold, we have this thing called Arab Spring. So Arab Spring rises up, which is really nothing more, and I'll just call it what it is. It was nothing more than a CIA operation. They always do the same thing. They send in a bunch of people, not a bunch. They send in a handful of guys, and they go in and they stir up the youth, and they go on social media, and they, the Facebook and the Twitter, and we're gonna have a we're going to have a meeting against this guy because, and they always say the same thing, civil rights, the women can't do this, and look at the way they treat the old people, and they always do this. And once it stirs up and once it actually gets going, then the operatives, they leave, they go back to their country, they come back over here and have their pizza, their Chinese food, they're chilling, right? But over there, they leave that big mess. And then what the United States and the countries do, oh, my God, look what he's doing. He's fighting the protesters just because they're protesting. Oh, my God, we can't allow that to happen. We have to send in, military action. And so we go ahead and send in military. We get rid of this guy because he's no good for the people. And then, we stand by as we watch somebody get elected, wink, wink. And, somebody gets in there and we're like, you see, that's your president now. But now this is a guy who goes along with the program. So that's as far as, there might be more nefarious something going on with Egypt that I'm not aware of, but spiritually also, Egypt is key. Egypt is going to be key because a lot of stuff was born out of Egypt. Okay, those pyramids and the Sphinx and all the stuff that's there, it's there for a reason, and that's the topic of a whole another show. But those things are there, and as a matter of fact, in the scripture, it points to those pyramids, and next time we speak, David, maybe we can talk about that. It points to there because there's something that has to happen in Egypt in the future according to the biblical prophecy. So again, if you control, looking at it at the spiritual point of view, if you control, you know what I mean? It's like controlling all the pieces of the board. If you can control everything, and you're the bad guy, then you think you can roll, you're in charge, but it's not really going to happen that way for these globalists.
So true. In Egypt, Mubarak wouldn't go along with the program anymore. That's exactly why. And remember, he was the young vice president to Anwar Sadat. And he wasn't going along with the program anymore. And since he wasn't going along with the program, the strategical importance of Egypt, because of where it sits strategically, is so important. Just think, how would you be able to fully encompass Iran and sever Iran from Russia support, and by severing that gas that's there, if you don't have Egypt? You can't.
Hey,
you can't. Yeah, go ahead.
So by that, do you mean, I think is it the Black Sea or the China Sea that sits in between Egypt and
no, the Black Sea, the Black Sea is up above the off to the side of the Mediterranean. That's in by Russia.
Right.
Okay. In this article,
they're right off of the Mediterranean.
What I gathered from that article, Dave, it was that they were basically saying, and forgive me for not knowing at this point in time, whatever seaport or ocean port that Egypt has,
the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay, that would be it. They're saying that that point is a strategic position for anybody specifically. I guess if America is trying to get in there, they would hold the key to that checkmate, I guess. And because they've been so silent in this situation, and it left the question there to ask, who are they siding with? I'll mute my line.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that. The Strait of Hormuz is so important because that's where so much of the world's oil has to get out of to get to delivery throughout the world. And so that is one part that Egypt actually controls. That point it's all about strategical positioning. So because it's the flow of assets. Without assets, you don't control anything. It's the only way that you can do it. So yes, that's the strategical. That's one of the wild cards that Chico-Stick was talking about, because right there is Iran. Iran is right there. Go ahead, Chico-Stick.
I just gotta. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about the same thing, Dave. I don't want to correct you. The Strait of Hormuz is off of it's off of the Strait of Hormuz. You may be just calling the wrong one, but just for your listeners, so they don't look it up later and say, what are they talking about? The Strait of Hormuz is actually off of the United Emirates. That's off on the Saudi Arabia side.
In Oman, right. In Iran, right. It's the other one.
And so Egypt, they're like in the. It doesn't connect to Egypt, but they have like the Strait of Suez. The
Strait of Suez. That's the one I was talking about. The Strait of Suez, right? But it's saying it's strategical. You're absolutely right. Sorry about it. I got them mixed up with the Strait of Hormuz and the Suez. Yes.
But I also want to remind your the listeners again that that's all correct. That's all it's strategic. Oil comes in, oil comes out. Egypt is a big country. It's a big territory. The United States needs them so we can, land there, so we can land our planes, so we can refuel. It's a launching pad. And all of those things are very nice. The scripture is very interesting. That Egypt in the biblical times, okay, because it wasn't Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and all of that. Egypt, the portion of Egypt stretched all the way down to what is Ethiopia. Okay, right. And into what the Horn of Africa is, which today is like Somalia, and that whole section was referred to as Kush, just like the person Kush, like the Kushites. When they talked about the Kushites, it eventually turned into the Ethiopians, but it encompassed Egyptians and what today is Sudan and what the Ethiopia, because that's that portion of the land that Kush took and inhabited, and he put his people in. And so there's prophecy concerning the Kushites. There's prophecy concerning Kush and all that whole section, of Africa. And that's also very interesting. But again, that's for another topic. Because now we'll stay there for 2 hours also.
No. Great point. Very, very, very important. So Let me see anyone else on the board. And excuse me for that mistake, y'all. I get those straits and messed up. In the Suez Canal, right? The Suez Canal. Thanks, Scotty. The Suez Canal is very, very, and the Suez Canal is very, very narrow. So very, very important. Thanks, Scotty. Let me see. I think we got one more. Oh, shoot. Okay, we got a caller out of PA, area code 215, out of Pennsylvania. Welcome to Thando Radio Show. What is your question or comment for Chico-Stick?
How you doing? Can I be heard?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, Dave? Appreciate this show. Mr. Chico, thank you for coming back. Always a pleasure. But I just wanted to ask a question in relation to a question that a previous caller had brought up. And you touched on, the globalists and how they, might feel like their back is against the proverbial wall and that they might try and lash out to speed up the process for their plans. My question is given the amount of media coverage of, like Black Death, man, woman, and children just being killed extrajudiciously, in your humble opinion, do you think that may or may not be part of their agenda to speed up possibly a race war, amongst other things?
When you speak of the women and children being killed, you mean here in this country?
Well, literally globally, but let's just narrow it down specifically to the United States of America. Yes, sir.
So to try and ignite a racial war?
Trying to ignite a racial war, which perhaps potentially could lead to a larger conflict.
They could, and we as and that's a good question. I appreciate that question because it brings everything back sort of into a local perspective. We have to understand that it always has been. I shouldn't say always, but for a very, very, very long time, it's always been about race in order to divide us. You see, there's something that these people who manipulate the strings, there's something that they know, which is a mystery, which I have not been able to figure out. And it's even literally, it's even in the scripture, and I'll quote it for you. Chucks, here it is. I could find that for you. When God saw them building the Tower of Babel, what did he say? He says, come. It says, come, let us, it says, indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now, nothing that they propose to do would be withheld from them. Now, how do I apply that to your question? You see, when we're all united, black, white, Hispanic, brown, it doesn't matter, right? When we're all united, according to Scripture and according to what we know as far as ourselves and our humanity, there really is nothing that we can imagine that we can't do. Okay? And so if we're united together and we say, hey, listen, this politician, this guy is a sleazebag, he needs to go. Every time that we would vote, it would be like 100% of the people voted for this person, or it would be 100% of the people voted for that person. You see? But they can't have that. Why? Because we're going to be too smart collectively, and we're going to understand what they're trying to do. And so you have to find ways to divide us. You have to find those ways. Locally, you have to find a way to divide. Oh, well, that guy is rich. He don't care about you. He filthy rich. Look at the way he looks at you. And then we start thinking to ourselves like, that is true. Did you see the way he looked at me? Man, he doesn't. Well, why he's not? Because he's rich. Or look at him. Well, he nothing but a Puerto Rican, speak. Yeah, that's true. He's out here trying to get my job. Or man, look at these Mexicans. He's out there trying to get our jobs, working for cheap. You see? Or look at that guy, man. He's black. What's he doing standing on the corner? Well, he's not doing anything. But just because he's black, now all of a sudden he is doing quote unquote something. You see? And that's the way it has to be, brother. Because the thing about it is, that if we're united, they're in trouble. If we were united from the beginning, we would have been overthrown this government. And I'm not calling for anything. Please, nobody, say, oh my God, he's calling for violence. I mean, overrun it in the sense for good. We would put our people in there, real, not these sleazebags that are in there following the world agenda. And so I don't believe it'll go into like an actual race war where, people are going to, the shooting and the stabbings and things like that. I don't think it'll go that far. because I think that before that happens, I think that globally something is going to happen. But in the meantime, it's a good way to keep you from talking to me. You know what I mean? It's a good way for me to stop talking to Dave, because Dave is black and I'm Puerto Rican. Why do I want to talk to Dave for? You know? And that's just like a perfect way. You have to understand the socio-economic way to keep people apart has been a tool, has been a strategy, not just here, but all over the world to keep people apart.
Oh, Chico,
Scotty had a question for you, Chico. So go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, it's not a question, but it's an observation, piggybacking off of what he just said about race. Now, let me preface my comment by saying this. I don't believe there's anything wrong with people acknowledging their cultural heritage or ethnicities, okay? When I used to live in Detroit, I used to go to the Greek festival or any kind of cultural festival to try out the food and stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's nothing wrong with it's beautiful, actually, that we have all these different cultures who have so much diversity to contribute. Now, let me say this, though. When it comes to the system, I believe they focus on race on purpose for the same reasons that Chico just said. Take, for example, the 18-year-old black child that just got shot in the head in Pennsylvania by this white guy. So the media going to ask the prosecutor, do you think race has anything to do with this? Now, the prosecutor said, we have no evidence to say that this is racism. This was a savage crime committed by a human being against another human being. Now, that's smart on the prosecutor's part, not just because perhaps they didn't uncover any evidence where they can definitively say, well, you know, we went in the guy's car and he had all this KKK literature and he wanted to harm black people like Dylan Roof. And so when he goes to the trial, I believe they make it about race so that ignorant people who find their ways on the jury, it won't be about the facts of the case. It'll be about the race. It'll be about the race. Well, that's a black person. I'm white. They practicing reverse racism. Everything got to be about racism, and they just ignore the facts. Now, another thing is I track police shootings in this country. Every day I'm checking Killed by Police Facebook page. I'm checking the Free Thought Project. You know, I'm seeing all these killings. Mm-hmm. Now, ask yourself, why does it only make the news when it's black people being killed by police, when white men are the most shot down by police in the country? It's got to be a reason for that. Then it becomes a contest between, we get shot the most. No, we get shot the most. Instead of them two groups coming together and saying, we got to do something about these police shooting us. So I just wanted to add that to what Chico said. I believe it's a PSYOPs program. Again, I'm not saying dismiss racism. Racism is real. Institutional racism is real. But there's a reason why the media is so quick to always point out a person's race instead of just focusing on the facts of the case.
Thank you for
right.
My attempts at countering racism. That conversation is one that comes up repeatedly, and I have a hard time articulating that point thoroughly. So, thank you both, Chico and Scotty.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for calling. And listen, we're going to Chico-Stick, man. Too long to having you since the last time you was on. Always greatly appreciate you. And I'm going to just tell you, everyone knows my relationship with Chico-Stick. Let me tell you just something about what Scotty expressed and everything else. I'm going to tell you, you'll know a little about my background. Chico and I worked at the same place, but we never knew each other, but we had some mutual friends. And then when we finally met, we know one thing. that this society teaches a certain thing so that it will best serve the agenda of the objective that is at hand, and that's to subjugate and enslave everyone. And how do you do it? You have to divide them first and foremost. And let me tell you, brutality is brutality, and it's only something that is taught for a reason. And that reason is to control. So, Chico-Stick, I just want to say thank you for coming on, brother. We're going to have you back again. When you get some time, let me know, and then we'll have you back, because this goes into so much more, because there is definitely an agenda, and we wanted to peel us out because we want people to be as prepared as they really, as much as they possibly can. As you know, in my overall preparedness group, Chico-Stick is in that. It's because it's just that important. It's, that's how we met mutually in building, and this is the overall friendship and the brothership that we have now together that now is being shared with you all. So we absolutely appreciate you, Chico-Stick, and look forward to you being back on. So for those of you that called in, thank you all for calling in. Thank you, Mel, Brother Davis. Thank you, my man Ramon that called in, and the brother that called in out of San Diego, and just you. Thank you all, Scotty. Thank you for you being you. Strategic Melon, you being you. Everyone else, Brother Bragg, if you would, you can chime us out of here. And remember, it's never goodbye. It's always we'll see you later. And before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. Chico-Stick, thank you so much, man. Hit me up in a little bit, and I'll talk to you. I'm gonna be home in a little bit, so I got to let you know just in case something happens. I know where to come.
I know that board will cost some money because it's heavy as it can be.
Brother Bragg? Brother Bragg was a little bit busy. So, okay, you got a little busy. All right, y'all. So we're going to get ready to get out of here. Much love, much respect. We'll catch you a little bit later. Peace. Good night.
Gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs. Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.